back to the Blackhawk Report. My name is Greg Norman with Griffin Makrovich. Griffin is one of our reporters up at Michigan State, but we're going to be doing the Blackhawk Report weekly to kind of keep up with local athletes. And in this show, we've talked to most of the coaches. We'll bring you highlights as we move through the season. And Griffin, you had a chance to talk to a lot of folks.
That's
And
right.
we're going to talk a little bit about each sport quickly so we can kind of move on with the show. And then we'll have that. This will be every Monday night. We'll bring you a variety of stories about football, basketball, and all the stuff that goes with it. And you've had a chance to interview a bunch of coaches. So, any thoughts?
That's right. Well, I just got some great word from West Diner, actually. They just had their first meet last night at St. John's. They had their St. John's Under the Lights invite, where Jacob Hilton, a senior from Brandon, actually ran the fastest at the meet, even faster than the larger teams in the larger school meet. He had a time of 16 minutes and 32 seconds on the 5K. That's a 5.5 minute pace for the mile. I mean, this kid we should watch more closely. I think he can go to college for this stuff.
Okay.
Conversely, though, he told me West Steiner told me that only one girl showed out for the girls team. So, double-edged sword there. We're having some success, but the girls team needs to pick up some more people.
We come back to talking about Brad Zuby with football. We'll hit the numbers because the numbers are an interesting conversation. We had that conversation with Brad. Now, the soccer team is up in the UP. And we're playing in Kingsford. We're playing in Marquette. And so
That's
they're kind
right.
of taking an out-of-town trip. So that's got to be kind of good, kind of cool for the kids.
Yep, and they were actually held up against Kingsford. I watched some highlights from that game. They held them nil to nil until the last minute. They lost off a penalty kick, but I mean they're hanging out up there right now, and I think they're going to play in Marquette pretty soon.
You also talked with the cross-country coach. So talk a little bit about that.
Yep. Oh, that was the St. John's Under the Lights invite. But
Right, right.
I also talked to the swimming coach. He just had his first meet today. Actually, I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. But he said that his squad is looking pretty good. He's got some underclassmen that he's real excited have gone into the program, and he's trying to build a little feeder team now with the middle schoolers, bringing them over to the high school to get swimming back into the Brandon stratosphere of sports.
Am I right in assuming that volleyball has a former college player coaching them? That helps a little bit.
That's right. Taryn Miniger was a former college player. She played for Jacksonville State, and this is her first year there. She's talked about changing the culture completely with volleyball. There's been problems with kids showing up to practices with former coaches and all this, that, and the other thing. But she's really turned it around. They just had their first win actually last night, 2-1 sets. They played against Langville last night, and we're looking forward to talking to her on Thursday.
Get a chance to talk to the football coach, Brad Zuby, and we talked to him yesterday. That'll be the first after our little spat here that we had a chance to spend some time with him. Sort of a football coach, sort of cliche mongering early before the season starts. I know they had a good scrimmage against Holly last week. One of the things we talked about was that almost every team in the Metro League is between 26 and 30 kids. That's all. Even Goodrich, the defending state champions, Division 4, have 28 kids in their roster. So having been removed from high school for a couple of years, Griffin, the question I got to ask is, where is everybody?
I couldn't answer that, Greg, because I mean, I remember myself dealing with problems with kids showing up for school. There was tons of athletes I had around me that maybe lifted weights or exercised in one form or another, but they didn't play a dedicated sport in high school. And I think a lot of that is, and I've been talking to the coaches closely. I know you've been a coach for decades now. I've talked to you personally. The attitude of kids and parents. My parents. Maybe I was the last generation to be raised this way, but we were raised not to talk back to the coaches. Even if we didn't like what was going on, we were going to slug it out in practice, whether we hated it or not. And I've seen more and more now of kids just kind of blow it off and say, "Hey, I don't like this. I don't like running around. I don't like having to get yelled at. I'm not playing this."
Yeah, well, the Brandon football team has this 4-year starter. That helps the quarterback position. That helps them a lot. The skill positions are, as Brad will point out, are pretty solid. But they're running into the same thing everybody else is, even the Detroit Lions. If you don't stay healthy and with small numbers, health is a huge issue. One kid goes down in the line or somebody goes down in that situation, makes it real difficult to compete at the level that they play in the Metro League. When you've got in the last 4 years, there's been somebody from the Metro League playing in a state championship. So football in this league is pretty good, and they play in a pretty tough division. So it'll be interesting to see how that all marches out. We had a
Certainly.
chance to also talk to Jason Rumble and then talk about the girls' golf team. And that's a really interesting conversation because part of the women's world of golf is that about 15% play like they should be in Division I college, and the other 85% work at the sport. It's not quite as diverse as it might be in volleyball and some of the other sports where there's a little more talent. But man, when you watch some of these young ladies hit the ball 250, it's really fun to watch. So Jason will talk to us a little bit about his team, and I coach a high school team at Avondale, and we're going to come up to Goodrich Country Club and play them on the 22nd of September. So it'll be fun to kind of follow them. But he talked about his team, and we'll bring that to you last in this interview. The numbers are something that it's going to be interesting to follow them all year because injuries will play a major part in all of these teams because, as Brad pointed out for football, there's 8 guys at the high school right now walking through the halls that have been starters on his football team over the last 2 years. And they've just decided that they're not going to either not play or they're going to, sort of dominate and defend themselves by playing their primary sport. And we've said 100 years, and we could have a 2-hour conversation, is if you're playing more than one sport in high school, you're probably going to benefit because when you specialize, you burn out at your age. At least that's been my conditions. And I say that from an interesting spot. So we are going to cover the teams. I'm going to cover football and golf. You're going to take care of the other sports. We'll check in. We'll have some features on some of the kids during the season, and we'll try to bring you as much up-to-date information and kind of give you the inside skinny on what's going on at the school and with the teams. And I think it'll be a fun opportunity. You're obviously at Michigan State, great Brandon graduate, and eventually want to be a sportscaster. So this is kind of the first step into that the realm of covering those teams. And what excites you about the sports season coming up in the fall?
Really just getting to know the kids. I mean, these were kids that were freshmen when I was a senior, right? And now they've grown up and they've become their own men, their own athletes, and now breaking records like Jacob Hilton is and so many others. I'm just excited to see these kids develop and where they're at now. That's what it is for me.
Well, good. We look forward to a long, fun season with you. We'll do the same thing in the winter. Hopefully, we can do the same thing in the spring. But for right now, Flint Southwestern is coming to town on Thursday for football. That's the opening part of the season. I know we've had other games. I know the volleyball team, cross country, almost everybody's participated at this point. We'll bring you game schedules. So this is our pregame to the Metro League and to the Brandon Blackhawks. And up next is Brad Zuby with the football program. You get a chance to talk to him. And Griff, we'll see you next week, and appreciate your time.
Greg, I'll see you.
Smiles are powerful. They spread joy, laughter, and hope. But not everyone gets a fair chance at a smile. Every 3 minutes, a baby is born with a cleft, making it difficult to talk, hear, eat, and even breathe. In America, most children with clefts receive immediate care, but others around the world may never have access to the surgery they need to thrive. Smile Train is changing that. As the world's largest cleft charity, our sustainable model has sponsored more than 1.5 million smiles. We offer training and financial support to local medical professionals so they can provide life-changing surgery and other essential services at no cost to families.
It's wonderful to see these children, to hear the difference that we make. And for me, being born with a cleft lip and palate, knowing what they went through is so life-changing for me. They're not just helping a child, but they're helping a family, a community.
Help us change the world one smile at a time.
Welcome back to the 2025 fall football season for Brandon High School. This is the Brandon Blackhawk Report. We're talking with head coach Brad Zuby, coming off a 6-3 season in 2024. Lots of highlights coming up. You had a scrimmage last week. I think you're pretty happy with your team. And Brad, I know you open up this coming Thursday with Flint Southwestern at home.
Yep.
And maybe let's start talk with just general ideas of what you thought for this year.
Yeah. So, it's always interesting when you have a quarterback who really, Lance Brylant was our quarterback for pretty much 4 years. He started a couple of games into his freshman year and, has been our quarterback ever since. So when you have a kid who knows the offense that well, the big question is, okay, who's going to step up? And we've only had, this is my 10th year here, and we've had 3 quarterbacks. So we've been blessed to have a lot of kids play a lot of quarterback for a long time. This year, Albert Rowe really fought for the spot and earned it. Albert's an all-league defensive end for us, who is now going to play quarterback as well. And he's done a nice job just picking up the position for us. And we have some skill players we like a lot that have a lot of experience. So if Albert can just get the ball out clean, we like where those guys are at, breaking in 3 new offensive linemen as well. So, just getting everybody on the same page offensively, and defense breaking a couple guys here and there on defense too. So we're excited about this year, though. We like these guys.
All right, so let's start with offense. Where's your strengths
Yeah.
and what do you have to work on?
I think honestly, what we have to work on is just continuity and just getting smooth with our delivery and what we want to do execution wise. Damian Watton returns as our starting fullback. He was an 800-yard kid for us last year. Luke Hansen returns for his 4th year on varsity in the slot position. Luke was probably an 800 to 1,000-yard all-purpose kid for us last year, rushing, receiving. Dimitri McNear returns as an all-league receiver for us last year, caught a bunch of balls. So we're bringing a lot back on offense. Kurt Briolet starts in the slot full time now. So, Kurt's a real physical kid as well. So Tyler Schler at the other receiver. So a lot of kids with a lot of experience at the skill positions. Gavin Rochester and Evan Smith are our 2 biggest linemen and our 2 returning linemen. And then it's just getting the rest of that offensive line put together and, pieces starting to fall into place on offense.
Okay. In offense, obviously line starts with everything. You got to be able to block. If you can't block, the rest of it doesn't kind of come through. Is size becoming more important in high school? And if not, what is the single process? Is it speed, brains? For offensive linemen, what do you look for?
I mean, for the way we run, with our offense, it has some wing T roots to our offense. So, we just need guys that understand their assignments and understand how to play with angles and leverage and move people quickly so we can get the ball out in front.
For those of you who are not aware of what a wing T is, we're just thinking about going all the way back to 1927 in Notre Dame.
Yeah, we just do it. We just do it out of the pistol now with the double wings and a lot of motion and a lot of movement. But the roots of it go all the way back. So
the one question before we get to defense, the one question I want to ask you is probably 15 years ago, you started to do a lot of 7-on-7 for high school, which was always done in the warm country, Florida, California. They've done that for 35 years.
Yeah.
It's really now become prevalent in all 50 states. So
yeah,
the kids have so much more experience throwing the ball than they might have had 15 years ago. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. The evolution of the passing game in high school football has blown up. But in Michigan, if you can't run the ball and stop the run in late October and early November, it doesn't matter what your passing game looks like. So at the end of the day, it's still blocking and tackling. But yes, passing games and coverages certainly have expanded and grown over the years.
Let's go on the defensive side of the ball. You've always been able to put up points. We know that. You've had plenty of opportunities in the last few years to put up 40, 50 on all kinds of opponents. Defensively is going to be an important part of your process this year. So talk about your defense.
Yeah, we, Kurt Briolet comes back as an all-league linebacker. He's our inside linebacker for us. He kind of sets the table for us. Albert Rowe and Darren Lininger return as defensive ends. Both those guys were all-league DNs for us last year. They really understand that position. They play with a lot of physicality. They play with a lot of anger. Lininger is a menacing defensive end for us, and they're both very technically sound. We're going to rotate a lot of our big guys through at nose tackle. We've got some experience coming back in the defensive backfield. And breaking in a couple of outside linebackers, but they've been growing through our program and our system the last couple of years, so they know what to do. We're going to bounce from an even front to an odd front and roll some different coverages through, but physicality is key, and we like the guys we have. Are you better defensively this year than you were last year? I think it'll be pretty similar. I think it's just guys growing into positions and again, a lot of things are, what are your, opponents throwing at you from a scheme wise and how do you match up? We did a lot of good things on defense last year at points. And then, we had some breakdowns at points too. So, just being sound. One of the 3 legs on that approach for you as a head coach is obviously the leg of special teams. Yep. Obviously tons of, experience is put in and emphasis is put at the college and the pro level. High school, maybe not so much, but you really spend time with your special teams and you work with it. And so talk about them. Yeah, it's just, again, it's carving enough time into every day's practice for offense, defense, special teams, and all 3 phases. And our special teams coach, we've had the same special teams coach, Vinny Call, here for a few years. He was with me all the way back at Stony Creek. And we've got some other guys on the staff working with him. And it's just a matter of how do we carve out, we carve out about 25, 30 minutes every day. And look, we're going to look at our opponent and see, okay, what do we think is going to be the unit that sees the most time this week? Are we going to be punting a lot? You know, what's their defense look like? Are we going to be stopping them? How many times are we going to actually have a kick return on the field this week type of thing? So it's really spending those minutes where we think they're needed the most, watching film, cleaning up, and again, really getting the group of kids for each unit correctly, the right guys on the field at the right time.
Brad, look over the hill a little bit, talk a little bit about the Metro League that you're going to compete in this year.
Sure. I mean, the Metro League has put its champion into the state championship game for 3 years in a row now. So obviously Goodrich is the returning state champions. We saw a little bit of their scrimmage on Thursday. They are massive up front. A lot of size. Their backs run well. Their offensive and defensive systems fit their head coach and his staff perfectly. And, you know, they're the ones that you're going to have to go get right now. Okay. So they're on the top of the mountain for a reason. Obviously, you know, we used to be on the top. We want to get back up there. So if you want to get back up there, you got to go through those guys. Corunna, we saw a little bit of Corunna on Thursday. Big up front, some nice skill players as well to complement them. We saw a little bit of Lake Fenton. That team is super well coached, and they have their guys in the right spots and ready to go all the time. Owasso last year gave us everything that we could handle. They are probably the biggest up front that we'll see this year. And they have a quarterback who's coming back. And then Clio has a great head coach there going into his second year. The guy really knows football. He's getting those guys, you know, up to his standards. So honestly, it's very, very good football to have, you know, to have a division of 6 teams that's put 2 teams, you know, Corunna and Goodrich into the state championship game 3 years in a row. That's a good league, right? So it's going to be a fight. I think everybody in our league is sitting at between 25 and 30 kids rostered on varsity. So who can survive from week to week, who can stay healthy, who can execute and, you know, give each other our best games and try not to beat the hell out of each other too bad before the playoffs start.
Why are numbers down?
Man, I don't know why numbers are down. I mean, I got a hunch or two, but, you know, their numbers are down everywhere. Okay. We've got, I'll be honest, you know, Greg, we've got 8 to 12 kids that were on our team last year that, for whatever reason, have just decided that they don't want to play football anymore. Some of them don't want to give up their summers. Some of them don't want to put in the work. Some of them are focusing on what they consider to be their primary sport. And when I talk to my buddies, my head coaching friends around the league and around the state, they're kind of giving me the same report. So, you know, we'd appreciate if those kids played. We'd appreciate their parents supporting them to play a little bit more. But we have to play with the kids we have, and that's what we got to roll with.
That's a conversation you and I could go for hours on. And
absolutely.
You coach who shows up. Simple as that. I get that part.
Yeah. And you know, and Greg, you coach a lot of sports, and I coach, you know, I'm a football guy, but I've never once told a young athlete, I want you to focus on football and not do anything else. And I know you're the same way. I know you want your kids being multi-sport athletes. And I think football coaches all do that. I don't know if we always get the same support, you know, from outside influences.
Last question. Talk a little bit about what's coming up on Thursday at 7:00 at home against Flint Southwestern.
Yeah, we don't know much about this Flint Southwestern team. We, you know, looking at what they did last year, you know, schematically, you know, they look to be an even front with a couple high safeties. Offensively, they want to do some different things. They get in and out some different sets. So, you know, we don't have a lot of film on them from this year, kind of going off some things we may have seen in the past. So, you know, they have a nice young head coach over there, does a nice job with those kids. So we'll see what they look like when they get here.
Okay. Well, appreciate your time. We'll be checking in all season, see where the Blackhawks where you take them, and hopefully we are victorious on Thursday night against Flint Southwestern in the opener.
Yeah, and after week 1, we are on the road playing at Central Michigan University at Kelly Short Stadium on the campus of CMU versus Clare. So that should be you know, a fun one for us to talk about next week.
Appreciate your time.
All right, Greg.
2 things. When's a good time for you to have? Just take it by week. I want to be able to put the report out on Tuesday for that.
At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, ending abuse is not just our job, it's our promise.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches, baby? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes. Look at that. Yeah, you turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, You got to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Okay, welcome back to the weekly OTV Sports Wrap-Up. I'm Griffin McCrovich, joined once again by Ryan Drogemuller, the head coach of the Brandon Swing program. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
That's awesome. And how's the week been for you guys? You guys been practicing in the pool?
Yeah, just been practicing in pool. We started our morning practices this week. Did a couple of those. Getting ready for our two meets next week.
And is there any specific swimmers that we should keep our eyes on when we send our camera guys out there to record your meets?
There's a couple. Claire Widdicks, trying to get a couple cuts. Some of our seniors, Morgan Fletcher is trying to can do real well on her back. Been doing really well on backstroke. And then we're really working on trying to get our 200 free relay going this year. So.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge upcoming for you guys in this season?
Probably as far as events go, anyways, the biggest challenge tends to be depth a little bit and kind of like getting those third level swimmers. So like having swimmers that can compete on the top level and then having like the middle swimmers to kind of compete with the other teams is kind of the biggest one. And mostly from event to event. Like we can do really well in our sprint events. Distance events we're a little shallower. Stroke events we got some really high talent, but then after the top spot it gets, and even the second fastest it gets hard to fill that third spot.
Right. And if you can just remind us again when your first meet is, I know it's coming up soon.
Yeah, it is next Tuesday at here at Brandon Aquatic Center.
All right. Well, we'll be sure to record that. And thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us again. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. All right. Welcome back to the weekly sports wrap up with OTV. I'm Griffin McCrovich, joined here today by Sarah Burgess, the head coach of the Brandon tennis program. Sarah, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Checked your recruiting profile for tennis, and I saw you played for a year at Lawrence Tech. Was that correct?
Yes, I did.
How was that like playing college tennis?
It was an amazing experience, and I really enjoyed it.
And you're an Ortonville native as well, right?
Yes, I am.
So this is like a full circle moment for you to become the head coach of the same school that you went to high school at, right?
Yep, I attended Brandon. I played for Brandon, and now I'm back at Brandon coaching boys, girls, and middle school.
That's so cool. And I guess what was it like moving? You were an assistant coach while you were in college, correct?
Yes, I was. So after I graduated high school, I went to play for Lawrence Tech, and my sister was still on the team for Brandon, so I came back to help out, and I stuck around. So it was quite an experience balancing tennis and college and work, but I enjoyed it.
And you made it happen. And now look at a year later or a couple years later, you're the head coach. And what do you got in store for this year? What's it looking like?
For the boys, we just started. We finished our first week of tryouts and our first tournament, and it's looking to be a great season. We moved from 8th place to 4th place in one season, so I don't see why they can't move even higher up this season.
Oh, wow. That's really good success. And you guys are having a good turnout for the tennis program?
Yes, we are. We've struggled a little bit with numbers. Tennis is definitely a sport where having a feeder program should start to help now that we've started middle school, but we've had a good turnout. We've had quite a few kids return this year, and they should have a good season. We've ramped up our schedule quite a bit, and we've started to host our own tournament, so it should be a good season. We're excited to get going.
Yeah, we are excited to see you guys too. And when's your first tournament coming up?
So we had our very first home tournament this past Saturday. We have another home tournament this coming Saturday, and then our very first dual match is on Tuesday.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Sarah. We really appreciate you talking to us here at OTV, and we hope you can join us for next week's wrap up.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you. I'm Griffin Makrovich, joined here once again today by Taryn Minigard, the head coach of the Brandon volleyball team. Taryn, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So just tell me a little bit about what you guys did this week. You guys have practices starting, or what's going on?
Yeah, this is actually our second week of practice after tryout. So we had practice and our parents meeting and all that good stuff on Monday and Tuesday. And then we actually did our first time ever JV and varsity point rally scrimmage as a round robin with 6 other schools from the area. So it was really cool. It was the first time that we've done it. We'll do it again next year. As opposed to, normal sets of play, it's set up on a timer. So each team plays each other for 16 minutes. They have a 2-minute passing period. So it just really gets the girls in the habit of moving quickly, getting behind the line, not having to think so much, just being in position and going. And then the point of it is to rally as many possible points as possible. So it doesn't matter who wins or loses each set, so to speak. It matters how many points at the very end of the tournament that they accumulated. So Brandon took second place behind Oxford High School by only 4 points. So we had a good start for the showing, and then our JV team actually won theirs. So it was pretty cool.
That's amazing, especially considering how big of a school Oxford is compared to Brandon. That's really incredible.
Yeah.
So I guess we spoke last time about the culture and the shifting culture of sports and kids growing up in sports. How are these girls meshing together this year?
I think they're doing really well. We're still in the process of trying to figure out kind of permanent positions and where everyone's going to fit in a chemistry kind of a way. But coming to terms on that after this scrimmage, getting to see them play against, 5 different teams and what that looks like. But culture wise, I feel confident that we've sort of made a full shift. I think about it in the sense of, this year's juniors, right? So this year's juniors and seniors, I should say, even at this point, well, at least for the juniors at this point, because, this being my 3rd year, this is the only high school program that they know, you know what I mean? So they have no memory of, previous ways that things were done, the, lack of discipline that might have been involved and all of those different things. So these girls just know this. And so they're really starting to come together on, what those expectations are, how to discipline themselves, hold each other accountable, all of that kind of stuff. And I have a really good group of seniors. So our captains were voted for and there were no surprises. So that was pretty fantastic.
Well, that's awesome. And is there any specific ladies we should look out for when we send our crews down there to record your games? Anyone you think we should keep our eye on?
Gosh, there's so many. I think kind of up and comers. We took one sophomore this year. Her name is Ellie Peterson. Ellie is a really good utility all-around player. She, typically focuses as an outside hitter, but this year we're going to use her as a right side hitter and potentially setting. So she's young. She's really making that transition from a little bit of a slower play, from JV into varsity, and she's doing a really good job. But I think she's going to be someone to, sort of watch rise up the ranks. She's volleyball all the time, all year round. So she gets a lot of experience on the court and just a really good kid. Presley Hansen is a senior this year. We moved her to the outside from the middle last year. She plays middle in club ball, and she's another one who's volleyball all year round. But she's on the lookout for schools and all those different things that might want to recruit her. So she'd be a good one to watch. Outside of that, we've got, just a really good mesh of teams. I don't think that there's too many that are just so much better than the other, so much as how well they play together. So I think really looking at the culture shift in comparison from previous years is what you're going to want to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. And when's your guys' first official meet coming up?
So we have our first, the 21st, which is today, actually starts our regular season play. So anything after this counts. So varsity has a quad taking place at Langsburg High School on the 25th. So that'll be our first official one. And then we're pretty much, 2 to 3 games a week after that, along with some tournaments. So it gets pretty busy.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. and I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how sketch is vaping? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes. Look at that. You didn't even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you got to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go.
Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
I'm Griffin McCrovich, joined here today by Wes Diener, the head coach of the Brandon cross country team. Wes, how are you doing today?
Doing really good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well, actually. I just moved back into my apartment here at East Lansing, where you actually used to run on the club track team. You just told me the 8 and 5,000 meter relay. Speak a little bit about your experience as a D1 track athlete.
Wasn't quite D1. I was on the club team at Michigan State. Cross country ran 8K and 5K, which is about 5 miles for our main race. I had some success. I was in the top 7 of essentially on the club team, which meant we were competitive, but nothing like the varsity guys at Michigan State. They're at a whole different level. But had a lot of fun though. It was a great time, a great experience. I recommend it to anyone going to college. Join a club of some form. So.
And you've been running cross country your whole life, it seems, ever since you were at Capac High School. What got you into running long Capac? Yep. What got you into running long distance running?
Actually, my middle school wrestling coach, middle school PE teacher, he was a cross country coach, and he kind of got me into it a little bit. And I found it. I really kind of picked it up. I enjoyed it. I was halfway good at it, and it's something I can do my whole life, and kind of been doing it ever since. So.
And how was it moving around over to Brandon in Ortonville? I've seen you coach a few high school teams prior to Brandon. What was it like moving down a few steps to Brandon?
Well, I've been in a few different places. Have had a lot of success, and the new athletic director at the time, Jesse Johnson, brought me in to kind of take over and try to rebuild the program a little bit. So I'm excited at the opportunity, and I've found some pretty good athletes, and I'm excited to talk about them and kind of get them. I'm excited to see what they do this season. So.
And are you the coach of the boys and girls cross country team, or just the boys?
Yeah, officially boys and girls for cross country. Yep, just boys for track.
Okay, and I guess what can we expect from you guys from the season this year? How are you guys looking?
Well, girls team is unfortunately a little bit smaller than we'd like. We're only going to have a couple girls, but the boys team could be a lot more competitive, we hope. We have, I think, a pretty good top 3 returning senior. Jacob Hilton will be our leader. He's had a great summer of work. He's coming up, taking 9th in the state in the 800 meter for track for Division II, and he's putting a lot of work this summer. I truly believe he's going to have a great season and hopefully threaten our school record. Our second runner, Chase Compound, has had a great summer as well. Just got off having a really good cross country camp where he PR'd at camp, which is tough to do. And I truly believe he's going to be an all league runner and maybe get to the state finals as a sophomore. And then finally we have Ryan Zock, freshman, just broke our school record in the mile for middle school in the 1600 meter. He's been putting a little bit of work this summer. I think he's going to have a really good season as a freshman. So.
Oh, wow. It seems like you got a lot of talent coming in from those younger kids there. What's the biggest challenge for you and your team moving around to the different tracks and doing all the different courses? Do you guys have to take every course with a different approach, or what's that like?
Yeah, the key to cross country is kind of knowing the course, kind of knowing what you're getting into, knowing the weather on the day. For example, our first meet coming up, we're racing a night meet, so that's going to be unique, and kind of treating each meet, each competition with its unique set of circumstances and being prepared for whatever, going into it with a good plan. That's really, really important to cross country and really all sports, but especially cross country, having a plan for the course, knowing where the hills are, knowing when to make the move, kind of knowing what your competition is to kind of determine, okay, I want to go with this guy or I want to go with this team or whatever. So.
Yeah. And when's your guys' first track meet at Brandon?
First cross country meet will be this upcoming Friday. We're going under the lights, going up to St. John's, nice little trip up to mid-Michigan, competing probably against 14 other schools in our division. It'll be a big meet to get us started. I'm excited for it. We'll be running late at night. It'll be a little cooler, and it'll be a cool experience for our athletes. I'm really excited for it.
All right. Well, we are too over at OTV, Wes. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you can join us again for next week's wrap-up.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Welcome back. We're talking with Jason Rumble, who's the head golf coach at Brandon High School for the girls' season in 2025. We're doing our preview, and I guess the easiest part is, Jason, this is your
12th season.
12th season. You were coach of the year last year on the boys' side.
Correct.
And talk a little bit about the girls this year.
Yep. So we have a very young team, which is nice and exciting for the future. I have 4 sophomores, 1 junior, and 3 freshmen, and a couple of our freshmen are pretty exciting, and they're pushing some of our returning players. But it's going to work out where I feel that we're going to be pretty good in the next 2 to 3 years.
Talk about your individual players. Who was maybe 1 and 2?
Yep. So right now, Riley Van Sype is my number 1 returner from last year, and then Macy Toutant is after her, and then I have my 2 freshmen that are pushing both of them they'll probably switch around between the 4 of them, between 1 through 4, and that's Addie Stamper and Liana Olowski.
What do you like about coaching golf?
I love teaching the kids the game, and carrying the game into the future is what I like the most, and I like being with kids.
Talk a little bit about Metro League. It's where is the Metro League in terms of the area, the region, and maybe even the state?
Yeah, so we have 12 teams. We have the upper echelon teams, the Fentons, the Flushings, the teams that have 30 girls in their program, and then we have some of the smaller schools like us in Kersley and Schwartz Creek that have 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. So it's tougher to compete with the upper levels, but we're getting there. We're making progress every year. One thing that's really helped us is we finally got a simulator room at the high school. So I have 2 golf simulators that the girls and boys can use in the off seasons. So I've been seeing the results of having that facility.
You have a chance in this season, if it's a sunny day, it's a Wednesday, simulator or practice on the tee. Which is which is prevalent at this point?
I would rather be out on the course, obviously, because golf is more real out there. The simulator helps you tweak some things, but actual golfing, I'd rather have them on the course.
Now, you coach boys and girls.
I do.
15% of the girls play lights out. Yep. 85% of them, I think, to some extent, I don't want to say they struggle, but it isn't quite as deep as the boys' side.
Yeah, I don't think they're as the drive is as competitive as some of the boys, but there are girls that do, and I coach all of them the same way. Trying to get them up to the level. Once they commit, though, I do see a big change once they turn that corner and decide, what, I do want to put a little more effort into this, and they're not just out there swinging the club.
Explain to them it has to be their decision to get better.
Absolutely.
That's the most important part.
Yep.
Is making states important to you?
Absolutely. That's always the goal, and over the 12 years, I think we've had 2 girls make it and 2 boys make it over my 12 years. So individually, I would love to someday get a whole team to go there, and this team has the potential to do that.
Where's states this year for you guys?
Actually, I don't think they've put it out yet for us, for the girls. I mean, I know our region is at Flint Elks, and I haven't seen the state stuff come out yet.
Okay. Well, we'll be keeping up to date. Hopefully, we'll be on a course a couple times with you guys to have some interviews with your kids, and we'll have some fun.
Sounds good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.